Are you asking that again? Is everybody okay, or what happened?
Because now I'm starting to, I think, put together that obviously, I'm starting to put together that something's, happened, and there might have been somebody that I had hit.
In his own words, John Goodman takes the stand in his own defense. Good evening, I'm Michael Williams.
And I'm Kelly Dunn. Thanks for staying with us tonight. In a surprise move around 11:30 this morning, John Goodman was sworn in and took the stand in his DUI manslaughter trial.
It was a day of high legal drama in court as Goodman spent about 2.5 hours on the stand. News Channel 5's Jay Cashmere leading our coverage. He's live from outside the Palm Beach County Courthouse with more on what happened today. Jay?
Michael, Kelly, it certainly was a very emotional, gripping day of testimony from John Goodman himself. He spent 2.5 hours on the stand, as you mentioned, really detailing in his own words what happened on the night of that fatal crash 2 years ago in 2010, a crash that claimed the life of Scott Wilson. Now, it's long been derived from the defense from the start of opening statements that Goodman's Bentley malfunctioned at the point of contact right around the stop sign at that intersection on 120th Avenue. Well, today, this morning, before John Goodman testified, the defense brought up a forensic engineer. He basically outlined Bentley. He outlined the Bentley that John Goodman drove. He performed a diagnostic test on that vehicle, and he stated that certain codes inside that vehicle malfunctioned, codes specific to the throttle, malfunctioned on the night when John Goodman applied the brakes. John Goodman himself then went on the stand at 11:30, and here's what he had to say about those final moments before impact.
Single. Could you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happened as you were coming or approaching the intersection of Lake Worth Road and 120th?
I was traveling down Lake Worth Road, and I began to apply my brakes, and the car did not seem to be stopping as easily as I was used to, and so I continued to apply the brakes, and I came, I slowed before the stop sign, and I took my foot off the brake, and that's the last thing I remember.
It is important to note that tomorrow the prosecution will call a rebuttal witness to the defense's expert today, the Bentley expert, to cross-examine and to talk about the fact that that Bentley did not malfunction on that night. But from the words of John Goodman, he described there, as you just heard, what happened that night. I want to welcome in News Channel 5 legal analyst and local criminal defense attorney Michelle Suskauer. How did John Goodman do with handling that particular point right up until the crash site? How did he do with that? Because that was a big focal point of the defense, maintaining that Bentley malfunctioned.
I think that probably is, the weakest part of John Goodman's testimony, because it was, I don't think it was very specific. He really couldn't give specifics as to what happened, that he was putting his foot down. So how fast was he going? Did he actually brake? I think that really was one of the problems with his testimony. But I think in terms of some positive things, his confusion seemed very similar to the night that he made the 911 call. He sounded very similar. But I think that the defense may have a problem with that, the actual mechanics of the accident itself.
We talked about John Goodman's demeanor, how he seemed confused, dazed a bit, testifying today. How do you think that will stack up in the long run? You mentioned earlier that this was not a bad thing to have him on, that he did not do a terrible job, but how do you really think in the long run the jurors are going to look at this? I mean, is this a good thing to have John Goodman testify in the long run, or would it have been better to not have him testify?
No, I think it was probably a good move. Certainly, the defense has known about all of the facts of this case for 2 years. They're not going to put someone on the stand if they think that it's going to hurt their case. These are very, very experienced attorneys, and they've worked with John Goodman. They know the facts. They know what the experts were going to say. And I believe that John Goodman's testimony did not put them in a worse position than they were before. They tried to explain some things as part of their defense that no one else could explain, about what happened before the accident, how John Goodman acted after the accident. Was it a willful leaving the scene? Did he drink alcohol? Where he went? The path that he traveled? why he may have not left footprints where he went. Only John Goodman could answer those questions.
And we will soon see if the jury can sympathize with John Goodman's statements today. Michelle Saskauer, thank you very much. Well, John Goodman's level of impairment that night, how much alcohol he had to drink, certainly played a major part of this trial, a major part of his testimony. And coming up, we'll detail more of that angle from today's court proceedings. Kelly, back to you.
Jay, thanks. Stay with News Channel 5 for the most comprehensive coverage and analysis of the Goodman trial. We'll have live reports in every newscast throughout its duration, and you can watch it as it continues live gavel to gavel on WPTV.com.